We're now talking to Buddy Red. Buddy, why don't you tell me a bit about how you got started as a performer? Start at the beginning.
Well, I would say I got started once I saw this movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, in 2018, and it introduced me to rock and roll. Not only rock and roll, but performing. And I knew after I discovered that music that that was my next, path in life. And so I picked up a guitar. It's very soon after I saw the movie, before I even knew how to hold the guitar, I bought one. And I looked up lessons in Atlanta, and I spent a couple of years, going to lessons once a week until COVID hit. And I kind of just used that time, which was a lot of time, to, apply everything that I've learned so far in the last, let's say from 2018 to COVID, it was like 2021, something like that. So that time span I used to, really learn about my instrument and get comfortable with it. And that's how it happened.
And your parents are musicians. How did they feel about your musical direction?
Well, I think that they were definitely very supportive, but my father in particular, I don't know. It's like he didn't really know what I meant by I wanted to play the guitar, or he didn't really understand what I meant when I told him I was going to play the guitar. I think that he assumed I was going to incorporate it into my music production because he did know that I wanted to be a producer. So I think he just thought that I was going to, keep it in the music, but I didn't really tell him that I was going to be a performer or anything like that. He just kind of had to figure that out, with my actions.
I was at your show at Stubbs last night, and you noticed you were performing "No Fun" by the Stooges. That was great.
That's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Stooges song. And I'm always glad to hear somebody recognize it because I think that song is the epitome of rock and roll. It's, simple, it's fun, it's relatable. And yeah, the Stooges, they're one of my many influences.
What about as a guitar player? What sort of which guitar players were inspired you?
I would say Brian May of Queen. I would say David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. Prince, of course. I would say Jimi Hendrix. Muddy Waters. Say Robert Johnson. Let me think of one more just to be safe. I can't think of one, but I know he's in there somewhere. Joni Mitchell. I love Joni Mitchell. She's a phenomenal singer-songwriter. And her acoustic guitar ability is phenomenal.
And there's also sort of a bluesy feel to your playing as well.
That's right. Right after I got into rock and roll, well, I'm somewhat of a historian, in addition to being a musician. I love history and I love music. And so once I developed my love for rock and roll, history and my interest in it led me to, dig in the rabbit hole of rock and roll. And I realized that it was the blues that initiated it. And so when I went from Led Zeppelin to listening to Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, the guys that inspired Led Zeppelin, I said, I can see why Led Zeppelin made this music because the blues is something else. And I kind of like took my mind back to the mid-'60s when Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters were just now being understood over the pond in London. And it's like I had an epiphany just like the British invasion had. Like, oh, this blues music, oh my goodness. Like, why am I feeling something from it? And so, yes, I love rock and roll, but everything that I do is rooted in the blues.
I've read an interview with Bonnie Raitt, who was friends with a lot of those musicians like Muddy Waters, and she said that they were really thrilled that younger artists were discovering their music. It almost feels like it's coming, that continues.
Yeah, I think when it comes to style, when it comes to music, when it comes to, trends that happen in society, every other generation things kind of loop around, you know, and I don't know, it makes the full circle until it doesn't, and then it comes back around again. And so I think these days, here 2026, and a little bit before, a little bit after 2026, you know, live music and blues and rock and roll is making a resurgence, and I feel like I'm right on time.
Uh-huh. You say it's making a resurgence. Why do you think that is?
Man, so if history told me anything throughout my research of, you know, the blues and, you know, just major changes in music and culture within the youth of generations of, you know, just generations of youth, I've learned that social, I've learned that like unrest and just overall discomfort with how things have been going and how the youth feels like they're living, just being discontent with that promotes, you know, a certain energy that, you know, people don't really know what to do with until, you know, someone with an instrument and someone with a voice and a song comes about and takes that energy and pushes it into a crowd on a stage, and the crowd, they already know what to do with it because they feel it too. And they give it back, and it's a whole bunch of giving and getting and giving and getting until it becomes a bit bigger, the energy, I mean. And I don't know, you just begin to feel it more. So I think just over time, societies do well, and then they start to falter a little bit, and the youth starts to feel it, and it just gets uncomfortable until someone with the right, you know, stuff gets on the stage and takes advantage of that.
You mentioned you'd wanted to be a producer before, you know, picking up the guitar. What sort of skills from that are also applicable, you know, to being on stage and performing?
Okay. I think, funny enough, I think being a producer and, okay. I know when I was producing, when I was making a song or coming up with an idea, once I had an idea for a song, I would always see how many other ideas I can put or fit into this song. And so on stage, when I'm playing a song live, sometimes I'll kind of go beyond my original idea and, you know, do something that fits. I just didn't include it originally. So I think on stage, I kind of find as many ideas to add to the song as possible, just like I did when I was making beats. But funny enough, I think producing and performing are two completely different things. I will say that producing really, really helped me to communicate with my guitar via song, because, you know, when I wasn't playing the guitar and I was creating ideas, I knew how to create a beginning, middle, and end to those ideas without even knowing how to play an instrument. But once I started playing my guitar, I knew how to create a beginning, middle, and end already. I just had to, you know, do it.
I noticed at Stubbs, you know, you were playing, you know, with a power trio.
Man, I think the Jimi Hendrix experience is responsible for, you know, my line of thinking when it comes to a stage performance. I want to get the most out of playing with as few people as possible because, I don't know, I think that there's something really powerful about just three guys and girls, like communicating via just three instruments and it having a huge impact, and it sounds like a whole orchestra. I think there's something really special about that. And I also think that it allows me freedom to really, you know, get through what I'm trying to say, because there's so few elements to the music, it allows for those few elements to really shine, like my guitar and my voice and my words included. You know, if I had like keyboards and horns and all these other instruments, I feel like the message or the impact, well, I would say the message would be diminished a little bit, only because there are other elements taken away from it. That's my way of thinking. I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know. But I do see myself expanding beyond a power trio at some point.
What are your immediate plans after South by Southwest?
So a week before I came to South by Southwest, I had a meeting with, not a meeting, that sounds so professional, but I had, let's say, a day with David Ryan Harris, the lead singer from Follow For Now. And when we met, we just started talking about music. I could tell neither of us knew how to start a conversation because I went to his studio and found a few questions to ask, and we just kind of found a lot of common ground artistically. And he told me in that conversation that he was looking to get more on the producer side of things and to help artists, bring their ideas to life. He didn't say it like that, but he's basically tired of being an artist. I said, well, I'm an artist and I'm not tired yet, but I need a producer. So, not just a producer, a rock and roll producer. And so we arranged for us to meet again and play some of my music right in the middle of South by Southwest the next week. But I completely forgot it. And I had to send a message to him and say, hey, I forgot I'm doing South by Southwest. I hope we can meet when I get back. So saying all of that to say, I aim to meet up with him again, if it's possible, just to play some music and see if, we can create something together. I have an EP that's in the works right now. There's one particular song I'm trying to work out the business stuff in the background. But I'm really excited about that one. I'm going to be shooting like content and stuff to promote some of the songs that I've already released. Because I've been doing that recently, and it's been shaping up pretty well. It's been getting a lot of attention. So I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing before I came here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.